Here's the weird little scam nobody warns you about. You walk into a store for one boring necessity and somehow leave with a cart full of, wait, when did I decide I needed this? You were there for paper towels. Now you're holding a candle, a basket, a weirdly expensive snack, and a charger you absolutely did not need. And the wild part? It doesn't even feel reckless in the moment. It feels normal. That's the trap. And that's exactly why I wanted to make this. Because the biggest leak in most people's finances isn't some dramatic disaster. It's the steady drip of buying stuff that looks harmless, feels justified, and quietly wrecks your freedom over time. And Vanessa. And today we're talking about the buy nothing mindset, the 5 purchases I think you should cut for good. Not because I want you to live in a cave and eat plain rice like some miserable spreadsheet goblin. No. This is about taking your money back from a system that profits when you stay distracted, upgrade obsessed, and just a little bit under pressure. And yeah, number 5 is probably going to sting, because it's one of those expenses people defend like it's a personality trait. Let's start with the giant budget vampire sitting in driveways all across the country. iCars with monthly payments. This one is brutal, because the marketing around cars is so slick. Nobody says, hey, would you like to buy a $50,000 object that starts losing value the second you touch it? No. They say, only $650 a month. That's the line. Only. As if a payment that size is some tiny little thing. But $650 a month is not tiny. That's nearly $8,000 a year. And that's before insurance, gas, repairs, registration, and all the other fun little add-ons that show up like uninvited guests. If you took that same $650 and invested it every month at a typical market return, you'd be looking at around $400,000 after 20 years. That's not a small difference. That's a whole different life. Instead, what do a lot of people get? A car that they technically own, while the bank still has its hand on the wheel. And if the payments stop, the car goes back. That's not freedom. That's a very expensive lease with emotional support branding. I drive a 2007 Toyota Camry. It is not sexy. It is not turning heads. It is, however, paid for. And that means every month I'm not feeding a car lender, I'm feeding my future. That's the difference. One choice keeps you looking successful. The other actually makes you successful. And let's be honest, most of us do not need a vehicle that has more screens than a spaceship. We need something that starts, stops, and gets us where we're going. That's it. Anything beyond that is usually ego dressed up as practicality. Now, the second category I've cut out completely is status spending. And I mean the stuff people wear on their bodies just to broadcast a lifestyle they can't comfortably afford. Designer sneakers, luxury watches, jewelry that costs more than a used car, trendy clothes that are already out by the time your package arrives. I'm not interested. I'm really not. Because here's what's so funny about status purchases. They're usually bought by people who are trying to look like money while actively leaking it. They'll have pristine outfits and stressed out bank accounts. They'll be dressed like they're one investor call away from wealth, but they're sweating over credit card balances every month. That's the part nobody posts on Instagram. And the thing is, genuinely wealthy people usually don't need to announce themselves through their wardrobe. Most of them look pretty normal. They're not trying to win a costume contest. They're too busy owning assets, building businesses, and keeping their money where it belongs. Status does not pay your rent. Status does not fund your retirement. Status does not buy you time, peace, or options. It buys you a nice outfit and a little hit of validation from people who are also probably broke. Millimeters. That's not a flex. If a purchase only makes you feel rich for 10 minutes and poorer for 10 months, that is not wealth. That is a very expensive mood. Third on the list, luxury vacations financed with debt. Now, let me be clear before someone gets dramatic in the comments. I love travel. I love new places, beautiful views, good food, all of it. I'm not anti-fun. I'm anti-borrowing money to have fun and then spending the next 6 months stressed out about it. Because that's what a lot of vacations really are. Not rest, not adventure, just debt with a sunset filter. If you can save up for it, and pay cash. Amazing. Go have the best time. But if the trip only becomes possible once a credit card gets involved, then you're not really buying an experience. You're buying future anxiety. And people do this all the time while calling it self-care, which is kind of adorable and kind of tragic. They'll spend thousands on a trip because they're burned out, then come home to a balance that makes them even more burned out. That is not a reset. That is a financial hangover. You do not need a passport and a maxed-out card to take care of your mental health. A long walk, a trail nearby, a day at the beach an hour away, a quiet afternoon with your phone on silent, a book, a lake, a picnic, a nap. There are so many ways to feel human again that do not involve financing airline snacks. And honestly, some of the things people call experiences are really just performances. They're not going on a trip to be nourished. They're going because they want the photo, the proof, the little online applause. But the applause doesn't pay the bill. You do. When I travel, it's planned in advance and paid for before I go. That changes everything. No guilt, no panic, no credit card bill lurking in the background like a horror movie soundtrack. That's when travel feels like joy instead of a trap. Fourth, the upgrade trap. Oh, this one is sneaky. It doesn't look like overspending. It looks like being responsible, current, and up to date. Your phone still works, but there's a new one with a better camera and a slightly nicer finish. Your laptop runs everything you need, but now the new model is thinner. Your TV shows every movie just fine, but suddenly there's a bigger one with some fancy feature you didn't ask for and probably won't use. And the pressure is always the same. Your stuff is fine, but not fine enough. That's how they get you. The upgrade culture is basically a constant suggestion that your functional possessions are embarrassing. It makes perfectly good things feel outdated before they're even worn out. Which is hilarious, because most of the time the upgrade is just a tiny improvement wrapped in a giant price tag. My rule is simple. If my current device does what I need it to do, I keep it. My phone can connect, call, text, browse, and take a decent picture. That is plenty. I do not need a tiny studio setup in my pocket just to send a photo of my lunch. And every time a carrier email tries to lure me in with some cheerful little time to upgrade message, I see the translation, "Please sign up for another payment plan so you can own the same basic function in a shinier shell." That's the whole game. Not better, just newer. The upgrade trap works because it makes people afraid of falling behind. You see someone else with the latest gadget, and suddenly your perfectly fine device feels ancient. But that feeling is manufactured. It's engineered. Your phone was good yesterday, and somehow today it's obsolete because a marketing team needed a new sales cycle. No thanks. I'll upgrade when something actually wears out or stops serving me, not when a corporation gets bored. And now we get to the one that will probably irritate the most people. Food delivery. Before anyone comes for me, yes, if you're sick, injured, recovering, overwhelmed, or genuinely unable to get it yourself, that's different. This is not about those situations. This is about the rest of us, the able-bodied people who've quietly turned convenience into a habit and then acted shocked when the budget starts screaming. Food delivery is expensive in a way that's almost rude. By the time you add the menu markup, the delivery fee, the service fee, the tip, and the weird little extra charges that appear like magic, a $15 meal turns into a $30 habit with bad economics. And for what? So you can avoid a 20-minute round trip. That's the part that gets me. We are paying premium prices to do less of the most basic human stuff possible. Not because we need to, because we don't feel like moving. And I get it. Convenience is seductive. But convenience has a price, and the price is usually paid in cash and self-respect. Also, let's talk honestly about the food itself. By the time it sits in a bag, rides around in a car, and arrives on your doorstep, it's rarely at its best. You are often paying extra for lukewarm disappointment. That's not a treat. That's a scam with napkins. And the money? It adds up fast. A person spending $200 a month on delivery while claiming they can't invest $50 is not facing a money shortage. They're facing a priority problem. That is a choice problem, and choices can be changed. I'm not saying never order delivery again. I'm saying stop pretending it's a necessity when it's really a luxury. Use it intentionally. Use it rarely. Use it when it actually makes sense. But if you're ordering because you're bored and don't want to stand up, that's not self-care. That's self-sabotage in a very convenient wrapper. Now, here's what happens when you start cutting these 5 kinds of spending. First, you stop bleeding money in places that never felt dangerous in the first place. That alone is huge. But something else happens too. You get your agency back. You stop being the kind of person who reacts to every ad, every sale, every shiny new thing. You become way more deliberate. You start deciding what your money is for, instead of letting other people decide for you. And that changes your whole life. That car payment you don't have, that's not just money saved. That's flexibility. That's the ability to take a lower-paying job that you actually like. That's the freedom to walk away from a miserable boss. That's room to breathe if life gets messy. Those status purchases you skip, that's not just less clutter in your closet. That's less pressure in your head. When your self-worth isn't attached to what's hanging in your wardrobe or sitting on your wrist, you become a lot harder to manipulate. Those debt-funded vacations you don't take, that's not missing out. That's buying peace. And honestly, peace is a way better souvenir than a beach photo and a payment plan. The upgrades you refuse, that's you stepping off the hamster wheel. You're not running harder just to keep up with a cycle built to make you feel behind. You're standing still long enough to realize you were never actually behind. You were just being marketed to. And the food delivery habit? That's not just saving money either. It's getting your life back a little. You cook more, you eat better, you move more, you stop treating basic errands like major inconveniences. It's amazing how much stronger you feel when you reclaim normal habits. Here's the funny part. The buy-nothing mindset doesn't make you stingy. It makes you freer. When you're not spending all your energy on stuff that doesn't matter, you have more to give to the people and things that do. More generosity, more patience, more time, more room in your budget and your brain. And yes, people will comment. They always do. They'll call you cheap. They'll act like you're depriving yourself. They'll tell you life is for living, while they finance every part of theirs and wonder why they're always stressed. Usually, the loudest critics are just defending their own habits. But your future self is not going to care what they said. Your future self is going to care whether you built flexibility, whether you created margin, whether you gave yourself options. The 65-year-old version of you does not want to hear about the fancy shoes you bought to impress people you barely remember. They want to know if you saved, invested, and protected your peace. So no, this isn't about becoming a minimalist monk with 3 shirts and a sad little bowl of oatmeal. It's about refusing to confuse consumption with success. Start with one category, just one. Maybe it's the car payment. Maybe it's delivery. Maybe it's the constant upgrade cycle. Cut that one thing and watch what happens. The space gets bigger, the stress gets smaller, your bank account starts breathing again. And once you feel that shift, trust me, it gets addictive in the best way. The buy-nothing mindset is not about never enjoying your money. It's about making sure your money actually buys you something real. Freedom, peace, and a life that feels good even when nobody's watching. If that clicked for you, you already know what to do.